Hello, welcome to Between Two Youth Leaders. I'm Kristie.
I'm Adam.
And this is
Rick Milliorn.
Father Rick from our church, our first ever guest.
Oh, I'm the first.
You're the first
Wow.
ever guest.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice.
Better not let us
You didn't
down.
see our first episode?
No.
Wow. Okay, cool. Off to the best, the best start.
Dang.
Thanks for you guys who watched it, who actually care, I guess.
Okay. That's a good start.
What do you think of the setup so far?
So far, I can't stop staring at the white light.
The orb that's lighting you up,
That's
making
right.
you look pretty.
It looks like halo.
It's just our office.
Yeah.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah. Well, you actually did make an appearance in our last episode.
Yes.
I don't know if you saw it, but
I did.
you
Well,
had
it
a
was
little,
sent to me.
You had a little.
I was like,
yeah, it was
how
like-
did you see if you didn't watch the episode?
So you
did
didn't watch the
They sent a
episode, but
picture.
you
They
sent the picture.
Yes.
So that wasn't a recent picture, was it?
Well, not too recent. Not too
When was that picture taken?
Oh my gosh. Probably when I was dating Yoli in the. Well, we got married in '90, so it must have been the '80s, late '80s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big old nice mullet. Very-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you choose the mullet?
I did choose a mullet.
Nice.
The mullet life chose
It
you.
was.
The
It
mullet
was.
life.
It was. It was.
How long was it?
It
Because
was-
we couldn't
well,
quite
it went
see
to
the
the shoulders.
back.
It went to the
okay.
shoulders. It's hard to believe when you see this hairline, but it was to the shoulders,
I can
and it was
believe it.
and it was one color. It was
One
Wow.
color.
Wow.
Very nice.
White.
What made you get rid of the mullet?
I don't know. Well, actually, the funny thing is, I still have the mullet. I shaved it, and I know I'm getting over. No, well, I don't know. We just change of
Style. Did you
fashion.
have leather pants to
No
match
leather
the
pants.
mullet?
No leather
Denim
pants.
jacket?
Nothing.
Nothing?
You didn't have a denim jacket?
No. I'm sure I did. Well, no.
Huh?
Yeah, no, I didn't have a denim jacket.
Okay.
Just back when I had hair. And of
The,
course, thank you, Sammy, for putting that picture on the Ciudad Nueva desktop. And thank you, David, for stealing it for Facebook. That's copyrighted. I'm suing you. I'm suing you.
What do you think of mullets coming back? Did you know that
Yeah, they're
coming
making
back?
a comeback.
I've seen, actually, I saw some guy singing on some idol show, and he had a country guy, and he had like the serious, it doesn't affect me because I can't grow it anymore. So
Yeah.
Do you think it looks good? Are you excited about the comeback of the mullet, or like it needs to stay in the '80s where it was, birthed?
I think I think it needs to stay in the '80s for me. But I mean, whatever, people. If somebody loves it and makes them feel cool, who cares?
Cool.
Well, shall we jump on in?
Okay, let's.
Thanks for answering our silly question.
Okay.
So I'm really interested. You once were a child, right?
Yeah.
I once
I don't
was a child.
remember,
I'm
but
coming
yeah.
out of being a child, still
Yes,
a child,
yes.
obviously. But what was it like being in youth group for you?
It was my whole. Let's see, going to youth group. It was my whole social life. I mean, it was a Bible study. It was choir, or youth group leading worship. It was Sunday services. I mean, we would have youth group, and a mob of us would go to a place called. It wasn't. What's the place on Toy Story now? Was it called Pizza Planet? Pizza.
In Toy Story, yeah. it's
Something
Pizza
like
Planet.
that, pizza something, and we'd all fill the jukebox with remember that, with quarters, and it'd be Van Halen or whatever the band was learning, and we'd all eat pizza and drink Dr. Pepper, and I mean, there was a mob of us, probably about 20 or 30 of us, so it was fun.
That's so fun. What were like activities that you would do? I mean, you're talking about Bible study, choir.
Yeah, well, we'd have,
Like
in the
a-
Mayfield room, we'd have Bible study, and usually I'd play piano, or if I wrote a song, I'd play the song and we'd learn it, and then we had youth. There used to be junior Episcopal young people, and then Episcopal young churchmen, sexist, oh my gosh, but Jeeps and EYC, and you went, and back then, there was a diocesan youth committee that I was a president of a long time ago. Imagine no cell phones, no texts, and the way you communicate with young people in churches is by postcard. That's what we did. It was not, but we would have
Nice.
during the convention for the diocese, we'd have a youth convention, and so back when I was active, our band would play for the whatever the thing was, and they'd have the bishop and have all their stuff, and there was a youth presence at the diocese stuff. Big deal. I mean, for me, it was a big deal because
Sounds fun.
I wanted to be a leader or whatever. So
Did you do like summon?
summon.
Summer mission trips?
Yes. But I didn't do that till much later. My heart for mission didn't come till I was more an adult, and went with my kids, took them to Grill and to Central America, to Nicaragua and all that stuff, as I was a leader and I wanted to have mission trips. But I don't think I remember ever going on a mission trip out of the country, or just going to Juarez or something like that. And I mean, I'm half Mexican. A lot of my family's in Chihuahua, so going to Mexico on a mission trip wasn't a big deal. But it's not that I wasn't in King's Kids or anything like that. So it was later.
Who was your youth leader?
Gosh. Well, there was Rob Camp, who just recently, well, I don't know if it's recently, probably 5 years ago passed away. I went and played his funeral. He was the guy when I did that devotional on leaving to go gig with my band and then coming back, and all of the Bible study stood up. He was the youth leader. He was teaching on the floor, and he was a radio station guy and really loved Christian music. And so him, and then Clark Lowenfield, who's now Travis's boss, which I love. So
He's a bishop, right?
yeah, he's a bishop. And who else? Gosh, I can't think of anybody, because they stayed a long time when they were youth ministers here. So Chuck Collins, who's now was a bishop and now is a rector somewhere, or an associate. He taught me guitar here while I was when I used to work here as a sexton, and now he's a minister. So it seems like everybody that I was in contact became some kind of religious leader or whatever.
You got some juice. You gotta
Some
voodoo
some.
or a curse
Whoa.
or a curse, depending on, like, I can't get out of church work.
I was gonna say lineage or legacy.
Yeah.
I was gonna say like blessings, maybe rub some on
that's
us,
much
but
more.
I guess
That's more-
if you want to go with voodoo curse, you can do that.
I'm watching Netflix a lot, so that's probably a bad thing. But
Interesting. Cool. I have my questions here. That was my question. You took my question, Kristie.
No, I didn't.
Mine was,
Yours was the mullet question, and then I went, and then yours.
and
is
then
the
I
next
was,
one.
Mullet.
yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that they interviewed.
That's what we
That's the only
planned.
thing they'll remember.
You were also
Thanks for shushing me.
a leader, right?
Yes.
Once you phased out of being a child, right?
Yes.
And you became also here at St.
The
Clements.
Yeah, I was
the
youth-
youth leader.
The youth
I was
leader?
the youth leader, and Rudy was one of my sponsors, or one of my sponsors, my adult sponsor. We used to meet in the, there wasn't a yak yet, so we met in the, what is it called, the Wonder Room now?
Mm-hmm.
So and that used to be, when Nancy Loisel was here, that was part of the Christian education program for the school. So they would have guests, a desk, we'd move everything out, we'd put in a ping pong table and some other stuff, and then we'd have worship and do
Ping pong table.
Yeah, it was fun. I'm very good at ping pong. Very good.
Still?
Yeah, I took all kinds of kids' lunch money. It was terrible. No. It was because when I was part of my leadership was I used to be the Camp Stoney director when we used to have it, and so a lot of time to play ping pong with a lot of kids.
We have like 4 foosball tables over at the
Yeah.
Yak, and they're all broken
Yeah.
in different ways.
I think it's because of your guys, young people. I think they're just kind of violent.
Yeah,
Sure.
For sure that, definitely.
They always, foosball or ping pong table, they always come to youth groups to die.
Yeah, and couches.
And couches.
Yeah, couches,
Rolling chairs that are
Yeah.
already broken.
dot
Yeah.
matrix printers. Yeah.
Yep.
What was the thing that you did as a youth leader, looking back, you were like, ooh, shouldn't have done that. Activity, event.
Wow, that's something I shouldn't have done
Just like that was probably not the best thing for me to do.
as a youth leader.
And I'm gearing more towards
Oh.
funny, not like
Okay,
sad.
okay, because there's some with should have not done. What? I don't know. Give me another question. I don't have an idea.
Cool, great. Okay.
Should have not, because I mean, you try to make sure, especially when you have volunteers and stuff, you try to make sure you don't do anything that's.
Was there any like distinct memory you have of leading the youth group here?
Oh,
Is
yeah.
there something
Okay.
that stands out? You're like,
Yeah, you know what? When as a leader, and actually as a young person leader, we used to have these retreats called Happening, and there were these little weekend retreats with canned talks and adults that worked with it. In fact, every time I go up to Sacramento Methodist Assembly, the hall that's right up from the galley where we eat, that's where all the youth group would go, and that was with Rob Camp and everybody. But I have very distinct. Just leading, I was a rector of one. Of course, there were other rectors too, but I mean, I have a very distinct memory of leading that, of adults crying as I washed their feet, because I was part of the activities, and of people coming to know the Lord. I mean, just like, and of course, you're trying to put it in perspective, because you think in high school, or at least in high school, I thought it was bulletproof because I had a mullet. No, I did not. Not in high school. It was long hair back then. But you're kind of trying to figure out what you're good at or bad at. But I mean, when you work in the ministry, man, it's just crazy. You see all these things happen. You're like, wow, this is powerful, useful, important stuff. And I was just glad to be part of it. So yeah, that's happening for sure is a big deal. And then
the Happening.
yeah, Happening. And then another one in music leading would be being back when we were the Episcopal Church doing some recording and writing some songs on national youth recording albums,
that's fun.
because I was the little guy. I was like, there are a lot of very experienced people, and then I was like, okay, I've never been in a studio before in my life, and here we are, recording. And but it was very encouraging because they saw some gifts in me, and they liked my songs, so we used those. But I would sing with these people who were just like, oh my gosh, crazy gospel vocalists, and I'm writing, these songs that are
Ding,
very
ding, 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 ding.
like
Boop-a-doop-a-doo.
yeah, boopity, yeah. So, but it was, it was very encouraging, and it also gave me a way to try to encourage others to do it, to do like, it doesn't have to be any particular style. Just use whatever you have, and try to be excellent, and do it like you care about it. So.
Yeah.
Did you have like a recipe for a retreat weekend? Like, if you put this thing in and this thing in and then this happens, it was a good weekend. I always gauge, usually I'm trying to get out of it, but a lot of times my gauge is how many kids are crying.
By the end of
the weekend, how many kids have cried or currently crying during our last ministry time? And I'm like, nailed it.
Well, see, and I have a bad story of that, because I used to be a camp director. So when people were getting ready to leave, I would just say, I love you, go away, see you later, bye-bye, be sure and write her, because I was trying to get them on the bus.
Yeah.
So, and they'd all be crying, and so,
You're like,
and of course,
super fun, get out.
Yeah, like in my head, I'm going, you're going to forget about them in about a month. But I mean, my measure, I guess, is, I guess, is whether they take to heart the gospel message. Because I mean, I was
better
already in
measure.
a very fellowshipy community. I mean, we did everything together. So it wasn't a matter of that, but it was a matter of, okay, are you going to lead? Are you going to make a difference? Are you going to have an impact? I mean, now I can say that, because I didn't know what I was doing back then. But now I can say I wanted to make an impact on the culture and with my music and all that. But back then I didn't know. I was just like, I just want to play and be with you guys, and that was enough.
You were crying, saying
of course,
goodbye
I
to
was
all the
like,
kids.
That's right.
Bye. So I guess the next question, kind of on the same grain, would be, so you've gone through kind of different generations of youth ministry.
Yeah.
So you've experienced being ministered to.
Yes.
You've ministered to teenagers yourself.
Yes.
So right now, as a priest and as our worship leader, what would you say to the youth of our church? What would be a message you would want them to know? A truth of God that you would want them to really ponder on or grab hold of at a young age that you wish you would have grabbed onto?
Well, you know what? I guess initially, something that affected me a lot was when we talked about Father God and the parental thing. My dad was a lot older than my mom, and not a bad guy, but we didn't have a great relationship. He didn't show up for stuff because he was too old. Not too old, but too busy. And so I guess my first thing would be to give those relationships a chance that you think are already in a format. Like, okay, well, I'm not close to my dad. I'm not close to my mom. I'm not. And those are some of the heavy relationships in Scripture. But we do know what a good father looks like. I think. Watch a movie, watch a sitcom, you go, man, that's a bad dad. That's a bad. But I mean, so for me, in my youth, and then in my youth ministries, to try to be especially as a leader, pour yourselves into these kids. Just whatever's important to them, make that important to you. And then so I would tell, I guess, the youth, I would say, don't measure the relationships in the church by all the other relationships you have in your family. Unless, if they're close, that's great, but it's not the that you have to use, because with my dad, it was a whole different thing. So I kind of had male adult leaders that I felt cared for me, and they weren't my dad, but I went, well, this is a different relationship. So I would say that. Also to young people, that I don't know how to say, I guess, to relax and to realize that in God, and certainly in the fellowship of the church, you don't have to be anything. You don't have to be anything but yourself. And that's what helped me. I mean, I have tales of Van Halen and AC/DC on 8-track, get this, on 8-track in WR Hall kitchen blasting while we're getting ready for youth group. And I mean, they weren't like "We Love Jesus" songs. They were like, but a large part of the group were into that band, and so the youth leader said, "We'll play it," And then of course we realized some of the stuff wasn't appropriate, but it didn't mean I was living that life. It was just part of the culture. So yeah. So so have the kids relax and be who they are, so that they can, because the Lord will find you there. You don't have to clean yourself up and be anything different than who you are. And then I don't know what else would have. Gosh, I'm trying to think of my kids.
Don't do drugs.
Don't drink and drive.
That's a good one.
All that stuff.
Oh, that's good.
But see, to me, that's all.
Relax,
It's all a distraction. All alcohol and all the drug stuff. It's a distraction to where you could really be. And of course, having raised 3 kids, I've been through a lot of that. But I mean, I always loved them. I just didn't love some of the things they were doing.
Yeah. So I'm hearing kind of being secure in your identity and who God says you are.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, we got some weird kids. I'm weird. Adam's weird. And that's okay.
You don't have to tell me that.
Well, you're in the twink stuff, so
Yeah.
that means that
You're
pretty
weird by
too,
association.
Yeah, that's right. Well, my mullet was certainly helpful. But
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So just kind of being assured that regardless of who you are, what you're doing, God's still going to reach you. You don't need to be, I like what you said, you don't need to clean everything up.
Mm-hmm.
You just need to let God in, be there.
Yeah.
And I do think that the point about like knowing who God is as your father, that being hard, especially with kids who don't have good fathers.
Yep, exactly. That was
You
me.
still have examples of good fathers, even if it's not someone you know personally.
Mm-hmm.
It's someone you've seen on TV, or it's the unfortunate truth is if you know what a bad father is, you know what a good father ought to be as well.
And it's not that that my dad was awful.
Right.
It's just that he had, he was an older guy, so we didn't agree on a lot of stuff. But I mean, it wasn't that he wasn't supportive or abusive.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like it was enough to go like, I can see what this could be like, because of Scripture and because of the fellowship with the church.
Yeah. Well, that's good. It's good stuff. To kind of end our discussion, we want to teach you a young person phrase.
And then have you teach us
An old person
a not
an
young
experienced
person, an experienced person's phrase.
Do you have a phrase that you're like, we said that as kids that you don't really say anymore?
Hip. My kids tell me I say hip a lot.
Hip?
Hip.
Like
Use that in
like
a,
the
use it.
connects your leg to your...
No,
in a
hip like
sentence.
it's cool, like that's really hip, or I'm trying to be hip.
that's hip.
Oh,
or
Kristie,
whatever.
you're so hip.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you, Rick.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
I don't hear many of our kids saying
No,
hip.
I'm sure not. But it just, I don't, it's just, that's part of what I used to say, so I can't, and I have no idea what people say now.
Well,
Wow.
one of the things that kids will say now, last week was no cap. This week, the saying is just bet.
Bet.
What do you think that
Why'd you
means
just
to
look at me?
kids? What do you
Bet.
think? Just off the top of your head, what do you think that means to kids
Bet
today?
is going to the horses and betting on a horse to win. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Technically, yes.
With your tithe. No,
With your tithe.
Technically, yes, you place a bet.
that's right.
a lot of kids will nowadays say bet to mean like kind of like an affirm, like yes. It's another word for like.
Like you bet, something like that.
Kind of like that, yeah. So if it was like, do you want to go get Chick-fil-A today? I'd say bet instead of just saying yes.
do you think part of that culture is because we text so much that
Yeah,
we can't do complete
I have
sentences?
no idea.
definitely.
But they say it. So if you say something to a kid, one of our kids here, and they're like, bet, know that it's a good thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
Or
right.
they ask you for something, and you can just be like, if they're like, hey, we're gonna have worship practice like on Thursday, bet.
Bet.
Yeah.
And they'll be like,
Yeah. Yeah.
Shocked that
well,
you're,
I-
but you're
I'll
entering
be
the
shocked.
world. Shocked.
yeah.
Funny. That's
So-
funny. Okay.
Thanks for letting us talk to you.
Well, you're
Thanks
welcome.
for sharing some of your wisdom.
Yeah.
What would you rate this experience out of 1 out of 10? Like a solid 11, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Not a
You know,
1 at all.
No. Well, not a 1. No, I'd say like a 7 or 8. Yeah.
What can we
Room for improvement.
No, I'm just saying me as a guest. I'm like, wow, Rick, you're fascinating. You're old.
Oh, you're great.
And
You had good
and you
things
used to
to
have a
say.
mullet. That's the most interesting thing about me right now. So.
Yeah.
I didn't say anything. I think you're interesting.
I think it's cool that you wrote music and write music.
And you know what?
I think that's your coolest feature. now.
I think it's so cool that I could still, that I get to do that.
You sounded really nice today.
Oh,
at
thank
the
you.
service.
In the
I love that. A good song helps.
Yeah.
And that, I try not to play bad songs,
That's good.
even though they sound like that sometimes. But
Well, thanks for talking.
thank you.
Thanks for
Wow,
watching.
Wow. Thanks.
Sure.
So I'm going to salute because that's what I've been doing apparently. A lot of it.
Thanks for watching, guys. We're gonna do another one of these at some point. Be looking out for it.
Yeah, I'll be watching it for sure.
There you go.
Yeah.
We got one more
You
viewer.
gotta at least watch your own episode.
That's right.
So thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.
How do you feel about Amber Alert?
How do you feel about Amber
Is
Alerts?
that the first question?
Yeah.
How do you
I
feel?
hate kids. I hate kids.
Hot
What?
takes. Hot takes. Hot
Hang on,
takes.
it's
How
hot.
do you
It's hot
feel
in here.
being between these two?
You
I'm
know,
fine.
between two youth leaders. How do you
Between
feel about
two. In between two. Between.
that? Between Adam.
I don't know.
in
Between
between.
two youth leaders.
I feel
Two.
Betwixt.
old is what I feel.
Good. That's what we want.
That's what I want.